Today we're going to talk about this awkward middle season where we have assets, but we're still financially stretched, right? And so we think about the fact that we have multiple homes, but we're still having to check our bank account before we go grocery shopping each week. Really, really fun season to be in.
This is a true story. The Broke Millionaires is the name of the show. Our income just shifted and we haven't been paying ourselves like we normally do. So we haven't been paying ourselves at all. So what we've been living off of is the rental income. You know, a lot of people think, well, just sell your houses. Maybe you should stop doing this. If we weren't doing the houses on the side, the income thing would still be the same scenario. You know, the market shifted and there was a lot of layoffs with a lot of our clients, and it really cut down revenue quite a bit. And so we've just been trying to survive, keep all the money in the business and making sure bills and vendors and everybody's paid. And so for us personally, we've been having to take income out of the rental properties.
Welcome back to the Broke Billionaires, where we document our daily struggles in building wealth while raising a young family. Join us as we talk creative wealth building for everyday people and couples that are struggling in a down economy. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Joshua Masari, and we'll be your hosts.
Welcome back.
Welcome. Back in the studio.
Yes. Week off? 1 week off, I think we had? Yeah. 2 weeks. Yeah.
Well, we were in Lake Arrowhead and we recorded 2 episodes while we were in the cabin, and then
I had some other stuff last week.
What do we have going on? I don't know. Stuff.
Yeah.
Life stuff, family stuff. Who knows? It was actually related. Okay. We were doing some stuff, a picture shoot for the podcast, but we were out
of the studio.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what's new?
What's new? We talked when we were in Arrowhead about our idea of potentially listing one of the properties. And so when we got back from Arrowhead, it's one thing when we make a decision, we usually get on it pretty quick. So we have met with Realtors over the last week, and I feel like it's interesting to meet with, I'm really torn in terms of who we're going to go with. But it's just interesting to hear everyone's different kind of strategies and viewpoints and clientele. And I don't know, what has your thoughts been on this process?
No, I think this is a good thing to talk about because there's a lot of people out there that don't think realtors matter. And we're not, when we're buying, we don't use realtors. Mm-hmm. The last house we bought without a realtor, there was no realtor on either side. There was no realtor involved, period. We just bought directly from the owners. And I think that's the nicest, easiest, cleanest way of buying a house. I love it.
100%.
But we typically don't have buyer representation. We just go direct to either the buyers or the sellers, or the seller's agent. And we just don't do the whole realtor thing. That doesn't mean that there's not a place for realtors and that we're anti-realtors, though. In this case, so we don't normally sell. It's rare that we actually sell properties. When you go to sell, I think that's when a realtor can become extremely important. We've talked about property managers and how wide of a difference there can be with property management companies just in filling your property from one to the next in the same market, the same tools, the same everything. One can fill it, one can't, because it's a different strategy. So it really comes down to strategy, and it's no different when you're talking about listing a property. I think in different markets it can vary. Different markets around the country. Also, the time that you're in right now, we are definitely in a buyer's market. So I think right now having a good listing agent is more important than ever. When things are hot and people are getting bid up and you're getting 30, 40 offers, anybody can just throw in the MLS and get those offers. Mm-hmm. But right now it's when the skill and the actual strategy kind of kicks in and separates the good from the not so good agents when it comes to listing.
And our strategy with that was we basically just took a look at the top sales in our city and kind of our immediate surrounding neighborhoods, and those are the ones we interviewed. And so we're kind of
so basically not just the top. We took all the brokerages that had record-breaking sales in the surrounding neighborhoods. So there was 4 that we landed on, and they all had a record-breaking sale in that neighborhood or a nearby neighborhood. They're they obviously did something right, and these are all happened within the last year or less, actually. So So we're being very strategic. We're not just, getting referrals and a friend of a friend. We are being very strategic with who we are talking to, because with this property that we're considering selling, the only reason we're considering selling is because there's record-breaking sales going on right now. And
We would like to be the next one.
the next one, the property, cash flows good. It's paying for itself. There's a lot of demand for it.
This neighborhood, particularly, a lot of demand.
That not only the neighborhood, but our house is redone at a very high level, and so it creates a lot of buzz and a lot of demand for on the rental side. We've got 3 or 4 people on a wait list to get into this property with the current family that's a insurance displaced family. They don't know when they're going to be back in their house, so it's kind of like a moving target on when it's going to be available. But we've got several people that keep following up. We had one offer that came in on Airbnb. It was a booking request for a very large amount of money.
Yeah, we talked about that on the last episode.
Yeah, and it was a 6-figure booking and like biggest booking we've ever seen, but we had to turn it down because we have somebody in there. So it's not something that we have to sell, but because we've got so much wrapped up in this property and so much of our cash tied up in it and put so much into it, if we can get a record-breaking sale, it would basically get all the profits that we may make over the next 10 years cash flowing and kind of bypass that. We might lose some appreciation, but if we can get that money now and put that money to work now, also with our situation, it would definitely help kind of reset. So it's something that, hey, if we can get this price, it'll make sense. Now, if we don't get the price, then we probably won't sell.
Well, and like we've said, we've had people knock on the door and offer us a price that didn't make sense, and that would have been a very easy way to go about that, but it doesn't work. So it has to be a record-breaking number for it to make sense for us at this point.
Yeah, and I think some of the brokers that we've been meeting with, like some of them see the vision, some don't, some have different strategies, some like we're very, very much like looking like this is what we need to get. This is our strategy. It's a one shot opportunity, because if it doesn't sell, we don't get the offer we want. We're just we've got a wait list of people trying to get in there, so we'll just go back to renting.
We know that we can rent it. We had that. Absolutely.
We can start increasing the price because there's so much demand for it. So we'll start to cash flow a little better. So, so that's kind of where we're at on that one, and we'll do a whole episode probably on this deal because the structure is very unique. Just with the way we pulled it together, the loans that we have in place, how we were able to get those funded. But then on our exit, because we didn't live there for 2 years, we have no way of offsetting those taxes, the tax liability on the gains. So we are going to have to get very strategic with our next move within the same tax year to make sure that we don't, this will be a 6-figure tax bill. It would probably generate about $150,000 tax bill. Which we're not going to pay. Legally not going to pay.
Yeah.
So, we're going to have to probably do a combination of, maybe because it is a rental property, we have the option to 1031. We don't want to take all that cash and 1031 it, but maybe like the tax liability portions, let's say it's 150,000, we could roll 150,000 into down payments on other properties and 1031 that to get a little bit of a tax break there. And then also the other part of that strategy is looking at using that down payment and parlaying that into maybe 2 different properties that are rental properties that we can take bonus depreciation on, because that just came back this year. So now we have the option to do that. So by doing a combination of maybe the 1031 on some of it, and then being able to leverage and get the rest of that on a cost segregation bonus depreciation strategy.
Does that have to be broken up into multiple properties, or?
No, you can do it into one.
We could do it on one.
We can do it into one, but I just think that it may make more sense to do it. It just depends. I don't know. But I don't want to buy something that we're losing money on and not cash flowing too. So if we can cash flow on a property, 2 smaller properties, which is usually easier to do, it might make more sense. So I don't know. We'll
see when the time comes.
Yeah, we'll see how to make it with the CPA and kind of game plan on this and figure out what makes sense. But once we figure all this out, that'll be a really good episode to go into.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I feel good about it.
It's kind of like what Luke did. Like we had Luke on about a little less than a year ago, but he did something similar where he was able to offset over $1 million in income. I think it was like $1.4 million in income and paid no taxes by doing this, where he was buying these rental properties and using bonus depreciation. So something kind of similar to that.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll keep you updated on the process and how it's going, and We're excited about it. What other updates did you have?
We're still working on the roof that we
Oh,
keep
this
talking about.
roof. This roof is just
This
nonstop.
cedar shake roof, and we're trying to get the solar, and it's been just like the lender is just really putting us through the ringer on this. It's just a long process. We had to move title into a trust, and we had to season that. And they just decided that they wanted it to be there for 30 days. We had to wait, and then now we're trying to get the permit approved. And the city we live in is just a nightmare to deal with. It's one of the worst permitting processes, like application. It's a roof permit. Usually that's over the counter, and you just go in there and you get it, and it's day one. They've had this for almost a week now, and they haven't even looked at it yet. And it's such an unbelievably difficult process. This is why most people don't do permits here, because they make it so difficult to do simple things. It's just something needs to change with that. But that's why probably the reason most people or a lot of people don't do permitted work, because it is such a hassle with
Didn't
this particular city.
didn't you say that contractors had turned you down because to work in the city?
Yes,
Just
multiple
wild.
multiple contractors. Um, and I'll say this publicly, like this is the city of Costa Mesa. Like nobody wants to, like contractors that actually are based in Costa Mesa don't want to do permitted work in Costa Mesa. They want to do all the surrounding cities because Costa Mesa is such a nightmare to deal with. I've literally had contractors say, we will not take work in Costa Mesa if we have to pull a permit. And they said, we'll do it unpermitted, or if you want to take care of the permits, we'll come and do the work, but we will not deal with the city because it's not worth their time. They're like, it's not worth us taking the business.
Right. I mean, the amount of babysitting you had to do and follow up with once things were submitted was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and I think like contractors that do business here, like we know one that's pretty renowned around here. But I think once they kind of get in with the city, they know the process, and they figure it out, and they're like, well, if they do the extra work, they can charge more because no one else is taking the work. So I think that they've kind of figured that out. But like most contractors that don't normally deal with this city, it's not worth their time. They don't even want to deal with it, and so that's bad when the city like contractors won't even work in your city because you're so difficult to deal with.
Yeah, but they want the permits,
They
so
want
they should
everything
make it easy.
they want everything
It
permitted, but
doesn't make
nobody
sense.
like, you make it so hard to get that process done. And we actually ran into somebody the other day that's running for city council because of this issue, trying to make changes on this very issue.
This specific issue is what they are kind of running with, which is amazing. I mean, hopefully, yeah, we'll see what happens there, but
We'll see. But this
yeah,
house that we are looking at selling is fully permitted. We went through the whole process. It was a complete nightmare, but we did it. We got it all permitted. And so that's going to help us in selling it, because not a lot of houses that get redone are permitted. So and we've got that going for us.
absolutely. What was the other update? You had one on one of our investments.
Yeah. Not a good update.
Shocking.
Seems like everyone is having like real estate. I will say real estate is really tough right now. It is not easy to be in real estate, whether you're a realtor or an investor. Like it is a terrible time in terms of just your holding costs and trying to get through and make properties cash flow, make deals work. It does not, like nothing pencils right now. Um, deals that were done before are falling apart because, interest rate environments, and they can't refinance or they can't rent things, whatever. Like it is very, very difficult right now. And we're experiencing difficulty as well. So it's not just us, it's everybody. But it is, yeah, it is definitely a tough time right now. I think that creating opportunities, because there are opportunities out there because people are running into trouble on projects. So you can find good deals. So if you are buying, like there's definitely buying opportunities, and there's going to be more coming down the pipeline until things stabilize and turn around. Um, we talked a little bit about this a few episodes back, about ways to invest passively. One of the investments that we talked about is syndications, and we talked about we've done some of those with our 401k. Some of them worked out, some of them haven't. This was the first one that we did, and it never really went according to plan. But it was an old, it was a commercial building. I want to say it was an old General Mills
Oh,
like
it's this
facility.
one?
Yeah, it was like a General
Mhm.
Mills like production plant where they used to make the cereal. It's just outside of Boston. And the idea was it was kind of a unique property, different unique buildings, but it was going to be used for cannabis. This was in 2020 when cannabis was getting legalized everywhere. And so the strategy was to acquire this building, build it out, and prep it for cannabis companies, for like grow operations and distribution, and be able to just have kind of tenants in that space. And then, after a year or two, like I would say like 2021, 2022, the whole campus industry, yeah, it was getting legalized everywhere, and everybody thought it was going to be like this big, like profit making thing. And then all these companies spent all this money, and then like the industry just kind of collapsed because they were spending more money than they were bringing in. And all these companies got, even the dispensaries, they all like went out of business, got acquired. There was just a big like turn on what everybody was expecting. So that plan didn't work out, and since then they've been trying to rent it and find renters. It's a weird property, and so it's not an ideal rental situation for most tenants. Um, and a lot of the tenants they did have weren't paying or end up getting evicted. It just never cash flow. It just never made money. So they've run out of the LLC that was formed has run out of money. Nobody, including myself, is willing to put more money into this because it's a sinking ship. And so they're looking at just liquidating and selling off to satisfy debts and then pay back investors what they can. But it's, there's several buildings and they're going to be doing it in phases, but we're probably going to end up losing 80% of the investment.
Oh, that's tough.
Maybe a little less than that, but yeah, terrible, terrible investment. I mean, we're like, so the thing with our 401k is it is diversified. It's mostly within real estate, but it is diversified. So we've got several of these syndications that we were doing early on. We've got single family homes, duplexes, apartment buildings. We've got a lot of different exposure to different markets, different things. So overall, it's not like the end of the world, but it's, we had another one that we did actually with Grant Cardone, and that one has done really well. Mm-hmm. That one actually makes up for this one plus some probably. So, not the returns I like to see. This is why I stopped doing these, because the returns, you have no control over them. The returns are not usually there. And we just have done much better with our own investing. So we haven't done one of these since I think 2020 was probably the last.
Gosh, has it been that long?
I think it was 4 of them that we did that year. And so we haven't done any since then. But now it's kind of like we're at that 5 to 7 year mark where they're all like, some of them were 10. This one was supposed to be a 10-year hold, but they're not going to make it. I think the Grant Cardone one was a 7-year hold, so they'll probably be looking to exit in the next year or two. And that one has done really well, so that should be a good exit. There was another one in Texas that didn't do too well. I don't think I think they ended up having to take investors, and everything got watered down on that, so the equity is like not there anymore. So that's probably going to be a total loss, or mostly a loss. And then there's another one in Boston that's actually moving forward. It's like a lab. This is like this bioscience center lab where it has small labs built in, and they're actually.
I thought those were one and the same.
No, they're
I didn't
separate.
realize those were 2 separate ones. Yeah. Okay.
So this other one, I just checked. I just got the investor report the other day, and they're actually moving forward. They've got all the permits and everything with the city, so they're breaking ground, and they're supposed to start marketing and taking leases later this year, and actually getting certificate of occupancy and putting people in. I think spring of next year. So that one's moving forward. And then once that's all occupied, then they'll exit. So that one TBD, but that one could still be okay.
Okay. All right. So not all a waste, but one. I mean, they're not all going to go well. We know that.
Yeah. And that's why those syndications, they're the actual like success rate I found is just not very good, especially going into the market. Now, if we had done this 5 years before that, everything was going up, and we might have exited at a good time, and it would have been fine. But when you get into it, and then the market goes down, like we've seen with the interest rate environment and everything, if they don't have the money to hang on and get through it, they have to take the loss. So yeah, it's really like dependent on what the market is doing. So it's a bit of a gamble. But you have no control over it, because it's not, you have voting rights whether you're going to sell or whatever, but there's really not a lot you can do about those.
Is there anything that, like investment-wise, that you want to get into that you haven't dabbled in yet?
No, I mean, we talked about the options trading. I do want to get into that again. our episode is actually dropping. Well, it'll be out by the time this comes out, but we have this episode dropping with Cam Dasani on his program for options trading, where it's kind of like a done for you. I do want to get back into that and try that program and see. And actually, that brings up another thing. We'll probably do a full episode on this because we talked, it was a while ago. We talked about how I was trying to figure out how to pay for the kids' school with a tax-free or tax-deferred account and figure out a way to make it work. And it's very difficult because with typical ESAs, you can put money into it. You can put quite a bit of money into it. It's a 529 plan, and you can put, I think it's up to $14,000 a year or something, but you can put a lot of money into it, but you can only put it into stocks and like index funds, like a normal IRA or a 401k. So it's very limited on what you can put into it. And then when you start pulling money, it's like you're probably not. I mean, if you have your kid that's born, you put a bunch of grandparents, everybody like funds it a bunch of money, and you let it sit there until they go to college. You're like, yeah, okay, maybe it's going to pay for college. But what I'm trying to figure out is how do we do right now? We've got tuition now, K through 12. How do we take care of that? Just trying to figure out how to do it with tax-free dollars with the money that we're spending and make it tax-free. And there's not a way to do that because you can't write it off. So we're just using post-tax dollars for this right now. So there is a plan, another ESA called a Coverdell ESA, which is like a self-directed or like we have a solo 401k where it's a retirement account and you can put it into real estate, you can put it into Bitcoin, gold, whatever you want. So it has those same like features to it. But the issue is you can only put $2,000, you can do it per child, but you can only put $2,000 per year, which is not a lot of money.
No, that's nothing.
I mean, that's 2 months of tuition.
Yeah.
So how are you going to get $2,000 to pay for $12,000 worth of tuition in that same year? It doesn't work. So, and the only part that's tax deferred is, or that you have the tax shelter on. So you put post-tax dollars into this and the gains grow. And as long as you use those for tuition, you don't pay taxes on it. So it's like a Roth IRA, basically. So how are you going to put $2,000 in there and get that to grow fast enough? So again, if you put $2,000 in there now, and maybe for the next 5 years, you get $10,000, and then you're able by the time they're in college, you pay for the rest of college, which is good. You pay for tax-free dollars, and maybe without having to invest anymore. But I'm trying to figure out right now, how do we deal with it right now? So I'm looking at trying to do options trading within one of these accounts so we can fund it $2,000 per child. And then doing options tradings, if it's successful enough, I think we can build up enough in 2 years to be able to start paying for tuition as we go and to keep growing it so that it not only pays for college, but it also pays for tuition, tax-free dollars without investing more. So if we put $2,000 into it now and then maybe don't even put any more money, just $2,000, and then let it grow for 2 years with options trading. So doing swing trading and leave all the money in there, just keep letting it grow. And in 2 years' time, if we can have enough money that it's spinning off, we'll continue to do that. But if it's spinning off enough money to pay for tuition each year for each child, but still grow as you go towards college so that it continues to snowball, and you can turn your $2,000 into $12,000 a year in tuition for K through 12. So some of our kids are already in school, so it's not as effective, but our other ones that aren't for a few years, we might be able to put this $2,000 to work now before they even start school. All of their tuition, K through 12, would be paid from the dividends or from the profit from that $2,000, and it'll all be tax-free as long as it goes towards tuition.
So what happens though if we get to the point of college and say our kids decide not to go to college, or college is like absolute obsolete by the time that they're there? Then what happens with
Which
that
is
money?
a very
I mean,
real
yeah, we've talked
possibility.
about this. So then what happens with that money?
There's a couple options. So one, you could close the account, pull the money out, and you pay taxes on it. So that's one option. If you want to keep it tax deferred, I believe the Coverdell ESA allows you to roll it over into an IRA account. And so now it becomes a retirement. I have to go refresh my memory on that and look at the tax code. But I think there is, or like if they do go to college and there's funds afterwards, then what do you do with the money that's in it, right? So I'm pretty sure that there's a way you can roll that over as a starter for your
That makes sense.
retirement
Okay.
account. Yeah. So it's still in the tax deferred and it still has some benefits that way.
What a gift we're trying to give our children.
So if we can figure this out and pull this together and make this work, we have another member in our mastermind that is actually local here that does self-directed accounts. And so I want to talk to them about this account as well. But if we can figure this out, one, that would be incredible for us and our kids. We have 4 kids. We got to pay for, we can send them all to private school and have this covered. That would be amazing. And then not have to be paying taxes on the dividends. That's even more amazing. And then have college taken care of is amazing. But we'll definitely share the strategy, and this will be, I think, something in the community that we talk about. So that brings up another thing, like our community. We just launched our community on Skool. We have a free community, so if you're interested, check that out. It's just go to Skool, Skool.com, and search Broke Millionaires, and it'll pull up. You'll see our picture, and then there we are. But we'll be answering questions in that free community. We are also going to be hosting a weekly call on Thursday at 4:00 Pacific time. It's going to be based on one of our episodes. And so we'll announce it the week before. You can listen to that episode, refresh your memory on it, and then come with any questions. But people will be able to basically be a Q&A on that topic. So
how it can apply to
so how you can apply it. If you ever listen to one of our episodes and you're like, I want to do that, or how can I apply it to my situation, this will be a good opportunity to ask some questions and kind of go deeper on that episode and see how that can apply to your situation and your family. So I'm excited to do that. Excited to start having those calls. I enjoy those calls. I have fun. I like talking about this stuff. So it'll be fun.
Well,
we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right. That's it for updates that I can think of right now.
Yeah, I think that's it.
So what's on the docket today?
Today we're going to talk about this awkward middle season where we have assets, but we're still financially stretched, right? And so we think about the fact that
Just a quick disclaimer. The information shared on this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions. Your individual circumstances may differ and require specific strategies not discussed here. Now, let's get back to the show.
Have multiple homes, but we're still having to check our bank account before we go grocery shopping each week. Really, really fun season to be in.
This is a true story.
A very true story.
So, The Broke Millionaires is the name of the show. Now, there is some distinction here because our cash flow situation personally has nothing to do with originally naming the show Broke Millionaires. It has to do with our income just shifted and we haven't been paying ourselves like we normally do. So we haven't been paying ourselves at all. So what we've been living off of is the rental income. A lot of people think, well, just sell your houses. Maybe you should stop doing this. If we weren't doing the houses on the side, the income thing would still be the same scenario. The market shifted and there was a lot of layoffs with a lot of our clients, and it really cut down revenue quite a bit. And so we've just been trying to survive, keep all the money in the business and making sure bills and vendors and everybody's paid. And so for us personally, we've been having to take income out of the rental properties. We do the co-hosting, which has been actually very beneficial because there's no extra house we had to buy. We don't, have mortgages on those houses. It's just straight profit for us. It's not as much, but it is profit for us. And that's something we've been able to do on the side, just kind of adding to our operations without too much extra work. Yeah, it's extra work, but for the reward that we get, it's been actually really helpful just having that as income. That's how we're, covering our tuition right now for the kids in school and groceries and things like that. So it's been very helpful. And the podcast, that's been funding the podcast because it's expensive to do all this stuff. It's not free. We don't make any money from this. So maybe one day we'll see. But the co-hosting has been basically our main source of income for this last year, which is not a lot for the expenses that we have.
Not a lot at all.
Yeah. So, we are in that kind of middle, what would you call it?
A building season.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in this this building not glamorous at all. That's, I think we talk a lot about this, like the assumptions of like, oh, you own 3 houses, like that must be so nice. In some ways,
We also have $35,000 a month in mortgages we have to cover.
these are not free and clear. We were not gifted any of these homes or a percentage of any of it. We've had to do this all by ourselves, and it is, I think one day could be glamorous, maybe, but right now we're like in the trenches in this building phase. And so, what would you say we've had to like? How has our lifestyle changed being in this rebuilding season?
It's changed a lot. I mean, just not having the cash flow to be able to do things like go on vacations. Like I missed 2 of my brother's weddings because of this, and they were like one of them was a tougher another country, a really far country.
A very young baby, but
That one we also had a baby too. That was part of that. But my another one I missed just because it was flights and hotels and everything. It just couldn't make it happen. We've
missed very close friends' weddings in
yeah,
addition to that. Um,
just
gotta
things like that we can't really get back. It's unfortunate, but we know that it's going to pay off, and we've got these assets. So it's not like we don't have anything. We're just not tangible money that we can like have access to. So that's one of the reasons that we're considering selling this one property, because this particular property, because the demand in this neighborhood makes the most sense, because if we can get this price that we're eyeing and break a record in this neighborhood, it's going to, it'll make sense. And it's funny because it'll be because we have money into this property as well. So it's not just the loans getting paid off. We have actual money that we put into it. We'll get probably close to almost a 7-figure payout at the end of the day. We'll have tax liability and stuff. So we've got to like play that game and that strategy, but there'll be like close to a 7-figure payout if we sell for what we want. So it's a decent amount of cash. And the funny thing is, this one probably has the least amount of equity out of all our properties. Out of all the other properties we have, the other 2 properties, this one probably has the least amount. Which is kind of funny to think that we have even more sitting in these other ones. But the same situation, we have a lot of tax liability that we'd have to get around and figure out. And the other ones are much better cash flowing properties, whereas this one is not. So right now, we're not actually making much money on this. The cash flow. Yeah, in the summertime, we get higher rates. In the summertime, it's a little better, but because we haven't been able to successfully refinance into a better loan, rates haven't come down enough, and we could refinance, but it's not going to really help any. It's just going to be the same carrying cost. So until that happens, we're just breaking, barely breaking even.
I mean, I would say hopefully the podcast will make money someday, but at this point, we're still in this building phase with this business too.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. How would you say our lifestyle has changed in this season that we've been in?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely changed. There's a lot of things that we miss out on right now. We missed out on 2 of my brother's weddings. One of them was in another country, and that was partly financial, partly we just had a kid, so that made it a little trickier. But and another one that I missed last summer, that that was a financial decision, just flights and hotels and everything. It's just we weren't able to do that. We have all these properties, and yes, they're generating income, but we also have $35,000 in mortgages we got to cover. So most of that income is going to cover these mortgages, and we got property taxes and insurance and all those things that we have to pay. So, even though these properties are renting for high dollar amounts, they have high carrying costs. So it's not really a huge cash flow for us.
Yeah, I think the weddings were a really hard one. We missed out not only on your brothers, but some good close friends. And I think that when we got married, that was one thing we said, like, kids are never going to stop us from traveling and going to weddings and doing that. And I think that they didn't for a while, right? We were still able, well, in 2 ways. We had less kids, obviously, so it's easier for childcare. So that has been tricky. But, yeah, the financial side of it, we were not obviously expecting that to change so drastically that would hinder us at this phase of our lives. So it's been tough. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that, and I think that kids are expensive too. That's I think people don't talk about how expensive kids are. They do,
They do.
but not like there's a lot more expenses that you don't even think about. Like we didn't, we never thought about having to pay for a nanny, and then, preschool and then like school, like those are just like things that we didn't, yeah, you got to feed them and you got college someday and all this other stuff, but like you don't think about some of these recurring monthly expenses that are very expensive.
We never if you would have said that our kids go to private school, like I grew up going to public school, so the fact that, I don't think we thought long term about the neighborhoods we were in too with some of the schools. That was,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's been
And again, this goes back to like our co-hosting right now has been kind of our like saving grace on being able to survive, paying for tuition and food, like just like it's not a lot that it makes, but it's enough to kind of keep us afloat and keep everything going and get us through this building phase.
yeah.
So,
I'll say too, we are very good at getting creative with making things happen and, down to like figuring out some of the vacations, right? Looking at host share and how to utilize home exchange. We've done that in the past, but getting creative with how can we still live the lifestyle we want as closely as possible without having to pay for it.
and that's another side benefit of these assets that we have, like just not just the income and the equity that we're gaining in them, but we're able to utilize our unbooked or vacant nights for free travel, and we use this everywhere. So you can use it around the world. So it's been really helpful to have to do that and not have to worry. We go on a week trip and we don't have to worry about coming up with five, six, $7,000 to book a hotel or book a house somewhere because we have this point system that we can use.
Right, that's been great. I mean, we've talked about in the past how we like to utilize our points through American Express and other credit cards and things like that. So we're finding ways to not have to pay for things because we can't right now, but I think that it's been, we've definitely had to get very creative with everything right now, and we understand that this is not an instant gratification, which you're much better at that than I am. I like an instant gratification. Um but we have to understand that I more so have to understand that this is more of a, like, delayed gratification process and have faith that this will turn around.
Yeah, I agree. It's just we know that this will pay off, and we just need to hang on. Like we said, there's a lot of people that are struggling right now in real estate, and it goes up and it goes down. That's just the way it is. And if we can get through this cycle, and with some of these, like this one that we're looking at selling, like this will help reset us and kind of get us back on track and help get us through the rest of the rough time with all the other properties and everything so that we can get out to the other side. But, this is definitely a building phase and it's not necessarily fun, but we are building something that is going to, if we can get through this, we can do this for another 5, 6 years. What we're doing and building now is going to take care of us for the rest of our lives and give us the freedom to do travel whenever we want and just have financial freedom and have time freedom. Even more importantly, I think the time freedom is what it's really going to end up giving us. It's just the ability to be free.
I agree. I think that, and during this time, people have suggested with, kind of that it's been tricky with the business. Like, why don't you just stop the business? Why don't you just get a W-2 job? Like, what would you say to that?
Yeah, when you're on the outside looking in, it's always easy to say like, "Just why don't you just do this? This would be the easy
Just shut
easiest
it
way."
down. Just shut it down
Yeah,
and do something
yeah,
else.
shut it down and
Go
do
get a
something
job.
else and sell your houses, and they just don't realize what all is involved, like the implications of that. You know, I'm a guarantor on all these businesses, and so you don't just shut down. That doesn't work. They come after you. You don't just sell houses without just to like cash out if it doesn't make sense because you got tax liability on your gains and just all these different things that people don't think about because they're not in it. They're not in that situation, so they don't see all the like inner workings of how everything's tied together and connected and repercussions of making those decisions. So
I say this all the time, but people always say like, "Oh, you own a business, like, you're so lucky."
mm,
We we've had this talk a lot, but
yeah. I mean, there's good times and
Yeah.
there's not so good times. It's just part of how it goes. It's up and down. So we will get through it and we'll figure out with this, the real estate assets and it'll pay off in the end because it is building equity. Like the funny thing is with all of this, even though it's a bad time, we are still building equity and still building wealth. Well, on paper. It's not, we don't see that in our bank account, but we are still building the wealth. So it's still working.
Yeah, absolutely. What, we've touched on this, in past episodes, but what do you think is the secret for a strong marriage during this rebuilding season and this, like, uncomfortable financial season?
Yeah, I think that the way that we have our goals, we talked about alignment. I think having an alignment in our goals has helped tremendously because, you know, we didn't have that at first and now we have that and you've kind of come along and you see what this is doing and what it's building and you see the freedom that's going to give us. We're not there yet, but it's going to get us there. So I think that helps having these aligned goals so that we both know that, hey, we're going through this right now, but this is going to pay off and we're going to have this better life because of it. I think that's a huge part of it. 'Cause a lot of couples, I don't think a lot of couples communicate these sorts of things. Like they always say communication is the number one issue that couples have. And I think the fact that we've communicated this and we've gotten aligned on these financial goals really makes a huge difference.
I agree. I think that you see a lot of couples kind of like each having their own goals and not necessarily talking about where they're going together as a couple and as a family. And I feel like that is something that I'm really proud of us that we started these conversations, gosh, before we were even engaged, of kind of the direction that we wanted to go. And those conversations have become a lot more intense and complicated and, kind of navigating through that as we've come along and things have shifted and had to pivot. But we have still always remained aligned with our ultimate goal and how to get there. And we may not always agree on it fully, but I think that we see the end goal in sight. And I think that as long as you stay committed to how to get there together as a team, that's what's most important.
Yeah, and we have our own lanes too. Like when we're redoing a house, like I do like all the construction stuff and this behind the scenes stuff, and then you're doing all the design stuff. When we're even the selling, you're kind of taking the reins on selling the house because that's it's just something that you can take the reins on. Don't need as much input from me on. Obviously, we make the decision together, but we have different lanes in our businesses and things that we operate. So we kind of have different lanes, but they're going the same direction and towards that same goal. So that way we're not stepping on each other's toes. And like, I feel like we get a little bit of separation that way.
Mhm.
But then also just like, our marriage is built on faith. We have our faith that keeps us grounded. And I think that really is another big part of what has really, helped get us through everything. So
I don't know how someone goes through a season that we've been through without faith, I'll say
yeah.
that. I really
Or the alignment. I mean,
or the
either
alignment.
one, it's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to have that faith is
Or the kids, like kids doesn't help either.
kids adds an extra layer. We've said that
Oof.
before that, if we were
It adds
going
4
through
layers
this
for us.
if we were going through this season pre-kids, it would be so much easier. But it also probably wouldn't give us the same why at the end of the day, right? We're doing this for our family. Like we may not understand. There's no way to understand how kids are going to impact your life until you have them. You can prep and think and be as involved in your nieces and nephews or whoever's life, but until you physically have your own, you cannot know how they impact you. And I think that changes everything.
Everything. Yeah, that's such a good point. I mean, like you said, changes everything when when you have your own kids and you're holding your kid and nothing else matters. Like
You're gonna make me cry.
the health and safety of your kids becomes so important compared to everything else that's going on around you. So yeah, it definitely changes your why. Like now we may still have the same goal, but it's not like for us because we want this lavish lifestyle or anything. It's because we want a security for our family, we want freedom for our family, we want our family to be able to go and do things and not be strapped and be held back for financial reasons or because I'm stuck at a job or whatever it may be. we're doing this for our family, and like everything we talk about is, the family, being able to go to Europe for a couple months at a time with our family, like during the summer. Like it's all revolves around our family.
It puts things into perspective too when you are going through a challenging financial season of, you know, like you said, like the lifestyle changes, like things are significantly harder. But at the end of the day, it's like you have for us, our six humans, our core family unit, and we're healthy and we're happy. And it does take a moment to just, that's what Mouse does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got emotional thinking about you holding the babies, and picture popped up yesterday of you holding our firstborn. So it's just fresh in my mind. Anyway, that'll get me every time. How do we stay mentally you should probably ask me this, but yeah, I feel like you are pretty mentally tough, but how do we stay mentally sound through this process, through this long season?
Yeah, I think I'll have you to talk about this, but I will say that I have like had, moments of doubt creep in, and just like, are we doing the right thing? Like, do we keep going, do this, or we just throw in the towel and like, liquidate everything? And because we'd be okay if we did that, we could liquidate everything and be fine. But then now we're kind of starting over. We got a bigger nest egg to start over with, but we wouldn't have the positions that we have on like these properties that we're in really good, that are cash flowing really good, and we've got good strategies with them. We wouldn't be in those, and you can't go and get that again. You can't go and buy that property again, or get that kind of position that we are, because the carrying costs would be way higher. We've got low interest rates locked in. That's why the one property we are looking at selling has higher interest rates. So it just doesn't make sense to hold that one as much as it does with the other ones that have these really low, rates locked in. So, yeah, the doubt creeps in, and it's like, what do we keep doing this? And I do have days. I have those days of doubt and those days of like that aren't as optimistic, but and I snap out of it. And then like, we like have this goal. We are gonna make it and push through, and we're gonna be better off because of it.
Yeah.
But we'll throw this question back to you.
Oh, I definitely have a much harder time with it. No surprise. I would say that the why is a big part of it. I think seeing you stay so optimistic helps me. And I know you try to hide those days that you aren't so optimistic from me, because that would just kind of be like a ripple effect probably. Um, but I think that, I mean, it really goes back to the faith. Like I don't know how I would have been getting through these last couple years without that, and knowing that we're going through this for a reason. I think that that's definitely something it comes back to. Um, but I think too, just coming back to, like I said, like we have our family, we're happy, we're healthy, we're aligned on things. We talk about things. I mean, we talk about this daily. And so I think that things are not a surprise when they come up. I think that's a big one. You keep me in the loop as much as possible. I know there's probably some
As
things
much as
that,
you need to be in the loop.
yes, as much as I need to be in the loop. There are things that I don't need to know. That's probably better that I don't. But
It's not that like I'm hiding stuff from you. I am hiding stuff from you, but it's stuff that like it would just be more stress, and there's no reason, because you stress out way more than you need to. It's like,
yeah,
I'll bear the burden. You don't need to stress out about some of these other
and I
things. It's
appreciate
just
that.
extra stress that you don't need.
I don't know if I am necessarily mentally tough through this season. People tell me I am, but I don't always feel like I am.
Your skin is getting thicker. Do you remember like when we first started having like, think back like 5 years ago, and you got laid off and things seemed like they were terrible. We had no kids, and we still were fine.
Oh my gosh, I found a journal entry when we were cleaning out the garage that was from like 6 years ago, and it was like complaining about how challenging things were financially back then, like having no job, being pregnant, and how I just was like kind of spiraling. And man, if that girl knew it, this girl was going to go through 6 years later.
But if you look back, like that affected you way more than a worse situation now is affecting you, because, when a person goes through something, your mind is very like adaptable. You've been through that situation, a hard situation once. When you go through that situation again, it's not that bad because you know you're going to be fine. You know you're not going to die. You're going to get through it. You just figure it out, and you just don't let it bother you as much. And so your ability to handle stressful situations and get through them easier and easier as they come. So we're just becoming more and more resilient.
We are. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
That's right. I
It
don't know
really
what's
is
coming.
true.
I don't know what's coming next, but
Ugh,
no, I think
a break would be nice.
yeah.
And I do say too, like, I think I've always been a fan of celebrating the small wins when we do have things, when we have these little tastes of like normalcy or how things were beforehand. It like the smallest thing, but it just feels so nice where I can almost feel in that moment like nothing had happened, like I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but I'm excited to get back to that of like I think understanding too the things I really took for granted before all this happened.
Yeah, and like the small wins, just like, we get a new co-host client, or
Yeah.
things like that. Like even just a book, every time we get a booking, it's like,
Yeah.
it's exciting. It's like, oh yeah, we're good for this month and that month. Those little wins, like they add up and it does help. But I mean, just overall, like we have a lot of, investments and all these assets that we have working and we're tied to. Um, we're building something big. We're going through it, but we are pushing through, and we are going to get through this, and it's going to pay off. And we're taking everybody along for the ride.
I was literally you just
So,
took the words out of my mouth. I was gonna say the same thing.
well,
Like
that's why we wanted to do this. We wanted to kind of
yeah.
document this and talk about it as we're going through it because we knew this wasn't going to be an easy journey. So nobody talks about these things as they're going through it. It's always like 5-10 years later when they're super successful and they're talking about, oh yeah, things were hard back then, but nobody talks as they're going through it. Like, we don't even know if we will make it. So this whole show may just be a total waste.
And it's funny because people still don't necessarily believe the struggles we're going through right now, even though
Yeah, we
we
don't
are
talk
so
about like we talk about the bigger stuff, but there's a lot of like smaller stuff that we don't even talk about. That's like,
yeah.
maybe we will someday, but right now we don't. And, this goes back to the community too. We're building this community, just all these different strategies and things that we've implored and being able to help people go, do this, and they're investing and kind of building towards their own freedom, but also just people that are maybe going through it, or maybe their business isn't doing well and they're trying to invest and they're doing all these things and they're going through struggling times too. But, now you've got a community you can like lean on, and other people have gone through it and encourage you and, get you through those tough times to keep going and not give in the towel. So that's
Absolutely.
a big part of just building this community that we're launching.
It's a hard thing, and I think it's also, like, a very taboo topic that we talk about. I think it's still an uncomfortable thing, and so we're trying to kinda break that mold and just be authentic, be real, you don't have to put up a front for
It was
anyone.
hard at first.
It was.
We were
It
getting
still isn't easy.
the things that we talk. Our family, like, I don't even think our family all listen to the podcast. They hear from other people
Yeah.
sometimes, but we definitely don't hide a lot of stuff.
No. We're open books. If you ever have questions, you can just let us know. We are open
Give us
about it.
some words of encouragement. So, uh, all right. So again, the Skool community is now live. We'll be doing our first call. So jump in there, get registered. Well, actually, by the time this comes out, we'll probably be on our second or third call, but we will be doing that weekly call. So it's skool.com. You can go there and then just search Broke Millionaires and find the community and join there. So that is a good way to connect and ask any questions that you may have about your situations too. Just, investments you're looking at, or just strategies, or just, you just want to ask a question. Again, we are not like, we're not financial advisors or CPAs or attorneys or anything, but we can talk about what we've done and what's worked for us. And then you can take that knowledge and then go to your professionals and verify that and make sure it works for your situation.
Yeah, absolutely. What else? Let's
That's it.
see. That's
Let's
it.
wrap it up.
I would say, like always, we appreciate all the reviews and ratings and subscribing to the YouTube channel. And if you have questions on anything we've talked about, like you said, the school community is a great one. You can always send us a DM too if there's topics that we've talked about in the past that you would like to expand on, or other things. Let us know. We love the feedback.
Yeah, the community is a good place to ask questions too, because you can post a forum like asking a question, and we'll jump in there, and other people can jump in on their experience too, so you can get some good feedback there as well. So, and if you know anybody, you or anybody you know you think would be a good guest for for the show, reach out. We are, we've got a lot of good guests that we've been getting on the show that are releasing now, and then ones that we've got scheduled coming up. We love doing guest appearances and learning new strategies and things. So that's always fun. All right. Okay, guys, get out there and make it happen.
Thanks for listening. This has been a production of Rebuilding the Dream Studios.